Hi there. Welcome to Apple World. It would be difficult to contend that Serena Williams isn't the best female tennis player ever anyway. Like each GOAT, Serena is likewise a polarizing figure who's accepted her reasonable portion of analysis throughout the years while Serena has managed the prejudice. In sport from the very outset of her profession, she's additionally been banged for acting like a bad sport and disregarding umpires and different players. However, the most recent debate encompassing Serena was ignited not by her on-court conduct yet, rather by her new Instagram photograph in which her face looked a lot lighter than expected. And keeping in mind that a few fans denounced Serena dyeing her skin, others leaped to her guard and said it was simply cosmetics and terrible lighting. So is Serena truly easing up her skin, or are individuals simply detesting on her for not an obvious explanation? We'll get into that in a moment. However, before we really do, ensure you hit that buy-in button. So you pass up no letting it be known with 23 huge home run single titles, the most by any player in the Open period. Serena Williams is certainly one of the best tennis players ever. The Ladies Tennis Affiliation positioned Serena as world number 1 in singles on 8 separate events, somewhere in the range of 2002 and 2017, and on the 6th event, she held the position for 186 sequential weeks, tying the record set by the German tennis legend Steffi Graf, along with her more seasoned sister Venus. Serena is the latest player to have held every one of the 4 huge home run ladies pairs titles, at the same time with many worthwhile sponsorships. Serena is likewise one of the most generously compensated competitors on the planet. And as per Forbes magazine, her $94 million in profession prize cash is 2 times as much as some other female competitor. Serena and her better half, Reddit Prime supporter Alexis Ohanian, purportedly have consolidated total assets of $265 million, making them one of the most extravagant and most compelling celeb couples on the planet. Keeping in mind that Serena is presently without a doubt living her fantasy, her way to significance was everything except simple. Serena Williams was brought into the world on September 26, 1981, in Savannah, Michigan, and is the most youthful of the 5 girls of Oracene Cost and Richard Williams. Serena began playing tennis at 4 years old. After the family moved to Carson, California, when Serena was 9, the family moved again, this time to West Palm, Oceanside, Florida, where Serena would go to the tennis foundation of Rick Macci. In spite of the fact that Serena's ability was clear from the beginning, her dad Richard quit sending her to public junior tennis competitions when she was 10, somewhat in light of the fact that at this point Serena had previously experienced prejudice in competitions. Serena's dad had evidently heard white guardians expressing overly critical things about the Williams sisters during competitions, and as per ESPN creator Tom companion Richard Williams, Williams would continuously make proper acquaintance with the white tennis guardians, and the white guardians seldom expressed high. Back around then, Serena was at that point positioned number 1 among under 10 players in Florida. And in 1995, when Serena was in the 10th grade, her dad hauled her and Venus out of Macy's foundation and began training them himself. Serena made her expert presentation in October 1995 at 14 years old at the Ringer Challenge in Quebec, however lost in the principal round of fitting the bill to then 18-year-old Annie Mill, operator, toward the finish of 1998. She was positioned number 20 in singles, and only months after the fact she made her main 10 presentation at number 9. From that second on, Serena was relentless, and in 1999 she won the US Open, turning into the second African-American lady after Alla Gibson to win a huge Marin singles competition at the Indian Wells Aces Series tennis competition in 2001. Venus pulled out of the elimination round match against Serena only 4 minutes before the match was booked to begin, and bits of gossip about match fixing began to spread the following week. The 2 sisters and their dad Richard were met with furious alcohol from the horde of the Ericsson Open, and Richard later said the crowd was yelling slurs at him and his little girls. I recollect the entire arena was 99 white individuals, and they were all booing. Richard told America Today, when Venus and I were strolling down the steps to our seats, individuals continued to call me. One person said, I wish it were 75. We'd destroy you. That is the point at which I halted and strolled toward that way. Then I understood that my smartest option was to deal with the circumstances peacefully. I experienced difficulty keeping down tears. I think Indian Wells shamed America. Accordingly, Serena and Venus boycotted the Indian Wells competition for quite some time until, at long last, getting back into the game in 2015. That year, Serena composed a segment for Time magazine to ponder the Indian Wells episode and said she was persuaded the assaults on her and her family were in nature. Serena composed the misleading charges that our matches were fixed harmed cut and tore into us profoundly the propensity organic. Entity was excruciating, befuddling, and out of line. This spooky me for quite a while. It tormented Venus and our family too. However, most it enraged and disheartened my dad. He committed for what seems like Reaver to preparing us for this mind-blowing excursion, and there he needed to sit and watch his little girl being provoked, starting cold recollections of his lives as youngsters in the South. And however, a great deal of things have changed since the 1990 SES assaults on Serena never truly halted. In 2018, Australian illustrator Mark Knight of Melbourne's Envoy Sun distributed Many's thought process was a race sketch of Serena. The animation showed Serena pitching a fit during her misfortune to Naomi Osaka at the U.S. Open, and a ton of fans denounced the illustrator for utilizing the furious individual of color generalization to portray Serena and showing Serena's rival, Japanese player Naomi Osaka, as a blonde white lady. The fans called the animation sickening, and one individual brought up how the craftsman decided to give Osaka light hair as though to hype her guiltlessness and delete her obscurity, contrary to an irate, darker-looking individual of color. Another fan added the bigoted sketch of Serena Williams, which propagates the furious individual of color generalization, and furthermore, the Savage cartoon, which is normally used to belittle individuals of color. The whitewashing of Osaka is an endeavor to condemn Serena as though she's taking from a white lady anyway. The Australian press chamber later decided that the animation was a non-bigoted personification recognizable to most Australian perusers, and a ton of fans brought up how Serena merited all the analysis since she acted incredibly amateurishly and demolished Osaka's pivotal turning point during the questionable match. Serena got 3 code infringements. The first since her mentor, Patrick Mouratoglou, was giving her hand flags. The second one for crushing her racket on the court, and the third one for verbal abuse against the seat umpire, Carlos Ramos. Serena called the umpire a liar and a cheat, and let him know he could at no point ever be on the court with her in the future. Are you messing with me since I said you're a criminal since you took a point from me, yet I'm not a miscreant? Serena was subsequently fined a sum of $17,000, including $4,000 for a training infringement, $3,000 for racket, and $10,000 for verbal towards the umpire. Keeping in mind that Serena later guaranteed she was dealt with unjustifiably by the umpire in view of her orientation, many fans called her a two-timer and blamed her for being a bad sport. She was likewise rammed for her absence of sportsmanship, and one individual on Twitter said that anybody who thinks Serena is the casualty here ought to watch the recording of Osaka concealing her head in disgrace, while the group sneered it was her second and Serena destroyed it. Someone else said Serena acted childishly and unreliably, and added that for her to guarantee prejudice was the demonstration of a bad sport. She asserted she's battling for ladies' freedoms, but she wanted to dismiss the privileges of the one who was beating her. All in all, we ought to have the option to perceive when somebody is off base, no matter what our convictions. Serena Williams demolished an extraordinary second in Naomi Osaka's life, and that is something that ought to be reprimanded however pitching temper fits, and losing isn't the main thing. The fans have condemned Serena, for she's likewise as of late experienced harsh criticism in the wake of posting a photograph on Instagram in which her face looked a lot lighter than common. In a since-erased photograph, Serena is seen presenting in a dark pullover dress and a couple of red beige shoes. However, it wasn't the dress or the heels that drew the fans' consideration yet. Rather, Serena's face. A few fans said Serena looked unrecognizable and conjectured that she had some sort of a medical procedure all over there, where likewise a